welcome everyone. It's really such a joy to have you here and such a wonderful group of long-term collaborators. We have a few of our fellows here. Please make sure that you meet them, and just really, really wonderful new faces. So thank you so much for coming. I'm sure that we can have some introductions from people that may be dropping in later on. So if you haven't introduced yourself but would like to, then just let me know. But yeah, welcome to the Xhope TAI Institution Design Hackathon. This is a really big mouthful, but there was no shorter way to explain, I think, what we're trying to do tonight. We're really trying to, today and tomorrow, we're really trying to lift our gaze and think positively and ambitiously about the future, obviously having a big safety and security component within it, but instead of only focusing on the challenges, maybe we can also focus a little bit on what positive AI goals could we envision, and what institutions do we need to build them. To bring you maybe a little bit up to speed on who is Foresight, why are we doing this? So at Foresight, we were founded in 1986, so before I was born, by Christine, who's around here, and Eric Drexler. And since then, we've been, I think, really thinking ambitiously about the long-term future and on crucial technologies along the way. And so we have these different technological tracks, including molecular nanotechnology, longevity biotechnology, newer technology with a big focus on AI safety, computation, space, and existential hope. And in each of our different programs, we have, in each of these different technological tracks, we have a very similar program. And so many of you here probably are part of individual programs as well. But in each of them, we have one workshop per year. If you want to check out different events across different technological tracks, feel free to do so. We have prizes in many of them to just incentivize new innovation. This one is on computer security. We have a new grant that we launched last year. There's a few grantees here. If you're interested in applying to any of the subcategories, feel free to do so. We have the virtual seminars in each of these different technical tracks in which people get together once a month to collaborate on their field. And then we have our wonderful fellows, and we have a mix between our intelligent cooperation and our existential hope fellows here today. And if you want to look back at our publications over the last years, they're all here. Why am I saying this? Because over, I guess, starting, a while back, in, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer, we used to host these AI coordination strategy meetings after every EAG. And so we brought together people working in different labs, companies, different researchers, and to basically think about the meta picture of how can different nation states, but also how can companies, how can we coordinate on the path as we're building AI. And they used to be well attended. They were really wild. But back then it was all kind of still more theoretical than now. And suddenly over the past year and just before, it kind of all exploded, and many of you are working on really wonderful efforts in that space. And so at the last AG, someone came up to me and was like, you need to do these more governance, coordination-focused workshops again. And so we want to do that again, but this time with a bit of a more positive spin. So these were mostly on global coordination, avoiding race dynamics, and so forth. And I think that will definitely be a part of the discussion today. But we thought that it would be really interesting and kind of about time to also think a little bit more ambitiously about the positive futures that we could hope to create through transformative AI. And so that's what we're here to do. And we're really, really happy to be collaborating with Future of Life Institute for this. And it's been a really, really big focus in Future of Life Institute's work for a long, long time. And so thank you so much for Emilia, Anna, Anthony, and a few other FLIers who are here today. If you want to say a few words, Anthony, maybe on your FLI perspectives on existential hope, on generally transformative AI and the positive futures from that, it would be wonderful.
So, humanity hasn't changed that much biologically in the last 100,000 years, but there's a reason that we're not sort of grubbing around filled with parasites, afraid of the nearest lion, and that's technology and our institutions, right? Both of them have led to the sort of civilization, the world we inhabit now. And I think we often, especially in the sort of the circles that we walk in, tend to focus on the technology and see that as the thing that has driven all of this progress. But I think we shouldn't forget how much those things go hand in hand. Science, that's an institution. All of the pieces of science, the scientific paper, the educational system, all of these are institutions. The corporation, institution, that didn't always exist. Somebody invented the corporation at some point. And all of these, the technology feeds into the institutions and vice versa. And so I think it's often, one of the things that I have thought about and Future of Life has really thought about is to what degree we need new institutions going forward. And I think like we have a sense, and I think many people have a sense that our institutions, while they've gotten us this far, are sort of failing us in certain ways. We have, like on a wider societal scale, we have institutions including, democratic institutions, social institutions, like regulatory institutions, which are under serious attack, and there's a real concern that they're sort of not going to keep up with the technology that they need to manage. So I think that's what we're here for. Can we build a new, evolved, agile institutions that are able, to move with the times when the technology is becoming so rapidly advancing? And that's what we're here for, to focus on that other side of the equation. Technology is great, of course, but technology at the moment is sort of taking care of itself. It is running forward very, very quickly. Technologies that are differentially beneficial are something that's interesting to think about, but what encourages, what incentivizes those differentially beneficial technologies, that's an institution, or it would have to be. So I'm very excited to delve in and do a couple of days of really deep brainstorming and thinking about what the institutions are that we need to manage these giant transformations that we're going to have, especially from AI and everything that AI touches, which is going to be everything. And there are two things that I'm hoping, and I put a little extra behind this hope because I'm a judge, that I'm hoping that we'll do. One is to be both ambitious and out of the box. Like everybody knows we need an international something to help manage and govern AI. Like we need one of those. So there's a lot of work that has to be done figuring out what that is. But I think there are lots of other things that we need that are not at the center of discourse. And I'm hoping we can really go outside the box and think about what some of those are and come up with things that have never been sort of seen or thought before. Second, and this is with my technology is advancing really, really rapidly, hopefully these will be quickly scalable. I think there are a lot of resources in our community, monetary resources, personnel resources, intelligence resources, AI itself. So I think it is possible to scale things much, much more quickly than it used to be. We don't have, or it's not going to take 50 years to create a new institution. But if it takes 10 or 15, that might be kind of long. So I would urge us to think about things that can happen sort of right away and move quickly. So I'm super excited to hear all of your ideas and participate with all of you, and welcome. And I'm super happy that FLI has been able to support this. It's right up our alley, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you as we go on. And I just want to say in advance, there will be more of these, but thanks to the Foresight team for putting this together. It's already awesome. They brought a rainbow. I mean, you can't beat that.
Courtesy of Foresight. Don't praise the day before the night. That's usually the German saying that we have there, but thank you so much. Well, now that we have, I think, some of the inspirational bits out of the way, I'll talk to you about some of the boring logistical stuff of this workshop of Anthony set the goalpost pretty high, so how the hell are we going to get there? And so there's a few links here on the whiteboard that I'll be showing you. And many of you, none of them should come as a big surprise to you because you all have them already sent out to you via an email beforehand. But if you are interested in just putting names to the faces on the normal Existential Hope website, on the page or for the hackathon, you have all of the participants, mentors, and judges listed with their faces. And so if you're struggling to put names to the faces, this is where you go. But now we're going to open up the big, ultra, mega document that we'll all be collaborating on throughout the rest of today. So if I could ask you to take a minute to open up this document right here. If you're already on this document, then this link will just link you back into this document. I'm just showing this so people can have it easier to find it. I'll give you a little bit more time, but I'll just walk you through it already. And so this has already been sent to you by email. So if you ever lose access to the doc, it's on the whiteboard. Ask me, ask anyone here, and it's also in your emails. But this document is really a collaborative document. And so we're really asking you to dive right in there and to take notes in the document, to comment on other people's opinions in the doc. and it's pretty open. Obviously, please don't delete stuff that you don't like. You can make a comment behind it, but take it as a collaborative document. That would be kind of like our shelling point. I guess it's with communication, so not quite throughout the entire day. All of the documents that you'll be working from are linked from here. Does anyone need more time to pull it up? Okay, great. So then, feel free to just watch the screens as I walk briefly through it. I think as Anthony already said a little bit, like we have like relatively highly ambitious goals for this workshop, but also really want to focus on pragmatic, practical solutions that we can really scale up and build after this workshop. So the first one really is that we want to identify goals for a future that are defined by positive transformative AI, and then evaluate the role that existing institutions play in guiding AI development towards these goals. After we've done that, we will then design sketches for institutions that are better positioned to reach the goals that we have in mind for a transformative AI to go well. And then we develop prototypes for these institutions. So this is not a workshop, it's a hackathon. So please think very practically. We are asking you to develop a prototype, whether that's a little app, whether that's like a polis, whether that's something like at least have something tangible at the end of, or like, I guess, digitally tangible at the end of the workshop that we can actually build from. If you want to query people, if you want to start a polis that you can, that other workshop participants can use to like, already get data on like what people think about that, great. Like really think very practically about what that institution or prototype thereof could look like. And then we want to evaluate these new institutional concepts and prototypes, and then explore really steps to initiate the creation of a few of them that people are excited about here. So those are like, it's quite a mouthful that we have going on, but it's a very, I guess, relatively detailed document that you have ahead of you. If you ever want to look at the participant intro doc, you can find it also linked from this doc. It links you to this long list of introductions. So if you are looking for another teammate from perhaps a different track that you really want to poach and coax into you participating in your group, that participant document is there for also all of you guys to find each other. Now, how are we going to do these relatively ambitious goals? I won't walk you through the entirety of the templates that we created for you here, but what I will do is just to give you a rough overview of how we're going to get there. So the 2 days are divided into different categories. The first one for this morning is called Scan. And so Scan is all about like scanning the possible space of AI goals that people here really want to make happen. What would a positive future defined by transformative AI look like? We'll then also explore institutions and institutional shortcomings in the scan approach. So just like, what's the field out there? What are people doing in this space? What do we want? The second part will be on focusing. And so this one is where you'll be finding your hackathon teams. And so from the existing transformative AI goals, plus the institutions and institutional failures that we currently have of reaching them, what are design criteria to do them better? And what are possible prototypes that you can help develop? So that would be part 2 of today. And it will be mixed between working groups and a plenary. So we'll always be moving between working groups and the main presentation room. So plenty of time for you guys to discuss and hopefully build. And then day 2 is all focused on ACT. And ACT really means like, let's create prototypes. And so by the end of today, you hopefully have an abstract understanding of the type of institution that you want to prototype. And tomorrow it's mostly unstructured work with a few individual like plenary sessions where you can really focus in on your teams on building a prototype that kind of like roughly goes towards the goals that we're discussing today. And then we're going to have final project presentations here tomorrow. We're also going to have interim presentations at the end of today where you all guys get to present your sketches. Tomorrow you present your prototypes, and then we'll have our judges deliberate. Our mentors are here throughout today and tomorrow to help you along the way. And then the winning kind of an institutional prototype and sketch gets a 10K developmental grant, and the winner up gets 5K to just really like hone in on the prototypes that you develop. So please take this seriously. Obviously 10K is not enough to build an institution, but it's maybe enough to do like some initial groundwork of actually getting something off the ground. So we're really trying to be really practically focused. All right, wonderful. Any questions? Anything I'm missing? No, great. Okay, we're right on time. It's 10:01. My German heart is rejoicing. Let's dive right in. So, as you can tell, we're really getting really ambitious in the first section. So the first section today is that we would take 5 minutes now to quietly really contemplate amongst yourself for a specific prompt. And so the prompt is, what is your top AI goal? It can be a challenge, so it's totally fine if you want to focus on a security or safety aspect that you think is not appropriately dealt with. That is addressable via an institution, possibly. And the next step after that will be, later on, that we'll be mapping existing institutions to it. But for now, let's just think about the top goals, the top transformative AI goals that we would really want for a transformative AI future to go well. Just one final note on this. We have already gone through your participant introductory docs and put in the goals that you mentioned in your introductions. Many of you put goals already in there. And so if you've done that, then you will find the goals clustered according to different categories already here in the sheet. And so we have different categories of ethical and safe development of AI, where we clustered some of the goals that you mentioned, global governance and cooperation, sustainable development and equality, enhancing human potential and agency, scientific and technological advancement, philosophical and moral inquiry, future visioning and scenario planning, and epistemics. So if you have a goal that fits under the categories, feel free to start it in. If you want to open up an entirely new category of goals, let's say you have something entirely different that's totally not on there, then feel free to just open up a new category here and slot your goal underneath. But we're already trying to roughly cluster your individual goals according to broader categories. So please take 5 minutes. This is mostly just the first brain dump. We will be discussing them now, and so hopefully can refine them a little bit. So I would love to go really category by category. And here, we already have to think about the fact that if the category of goal is too broad and you will afterwards trying to redesign an institution for it, it's maybe not useful. So what we're hoping to do now is to hear in each category, what you guys thought of the individual, which individual sub-goals you came up with, right? But then also see, are there specific ones that are closer clustered together, or are there ones that are entirely separate within their category? Because then maybe we should make that into its own category so that afterwards we vote on them. So let's go through them. Let's discuss them a bit. And then afterwards we'll be voting. You get 3 votes on the top goals that you think we ought to be aiming for. And those will then be the goals that we'll be creating institutions for. So if there are specific useful clusters that are emerging that are more precise or concise than the larger goal clusters here, then let's make sure that we catch them. Okay, let's start with ethical and safe development of AI. SS in a show. Do you want to read out yours?
Yeah, sure. So my goal is so that AI does not diffuse before we have sufficient safeguards to make sure we don't lose our ability to find what matters over time. To explain what that is, or
I think it's self-explanatory. Okay, AI safety approaches that are insensitive to the complexities of ethical life, from SK. Maybe I'll just read them out, and we can afterwards grok, and you can fill in a little bit more the different goals if there's any open questions. So I'll read out the little sub goals on there, and if you have a question of what does it actually mean, then feel free to speak up and ask around. So global architectural requirements that safety properties of AI output are specified in ways that can be evaluated objectively, and evidence is required that each output does not violate those properties. Interpretable trustworthy AI that can be demonstrated to be trustworthy because equally competent AI systems trust it while being shown not to collude with it. So here we have the collusion component in it. So what I'm asking for you guys to spot similarities as well, so we can closer cluster them. So let's go through category number 1. Ethical and safe development of AI that does not diffuse, AI safety approaches that are sensitive to the complexity of ethical life, global architecture requirements that safety properties of AI output are specified in ways that can be evaluated objectively, interpretable, trustworthy AI, AI that is more capable by virtue of its alignment, existence of privacy-preserving mechanisms for decentralizing tracking of major AI-related activities by certain regulated organizations. That's wonderful. There should be a trusted entity to receive and act on responsible disclosure of dangerous capabilities that have been demonstrated by ML systems. Great, so there's already an interesting cluster forming. Adaptive risk monitoring and regulation based on a distributed framework to keep up with pace. Lab-independent monitoring assessment of the potential of dangerous capabilities in AI models. There's also some overlap with previous ones. Safely usable human-level automated AI safety, R&D. Nice. development of feedback loops that enable better forms of incident reporting and alignment after deployment and during the use of a system. There needs to be an independent organization for creating standards for auditing of frontier models. That also ties in with some of the monitoring that was early on. Non-Western perspectives and institution design that support centering the margins instead of generalization in the context of what ethical and safe development actually means. Develop a number of accountability mechanisms, i.e. contractual agreements or others that could more deeply integrate with the AI development. How would such accountability mechanisms account for social, economic, environmental justice or other factors? Tools to counter the ability for AI to persuade humans of arbitrary beliefs. Epistemic helper agents, I think that may want its own category, honestly. Ensuring consent of the governed for the governance of the technology includes both consent of humans and AI from both human and AI decision making, particularly on prioritization and resource allocation more generally. Prevent centralization of power and monopolistic control of AI systems. Ensure reasonable distribution of outcomes. Prevent digital authoritarianism. Ensure privacy and preserve personal autonomy. So there's part of the privacy monitoring part and then the personal autonomy and agency part that's also in a later bracket. Licensing regimes for frontier AI models subject to neutral third-party auditing of capabilities. Avoid smooth left turn. Do you want to say what smooth left turn is? Who wrote smooth left turn?
Yeah, it's like scenarios where there is no like agent takes over the world, but like for example the economy gets virtually misaligned or cultural evolution gets misaligned.
Great. Radical AI transparency, technical and analysis, UI, UX tools that really allow us to interactively understand what the digital mind is doing and thinking. An institution that is trusted in a way that any individual governments, companies, people cannot be able to make critical decisions, red lines, etc., via citizen oversight, and so, etc., using individual public input to shape the future. That is, define the institution by the means, not the ends. Democracy is in the means. Interesting. We need innovation on institution structure itself. AI is only one of many growing impactful technologies. Trusted global expert clearinghouse for rapid potential deepfake adjudication. Great, that's very practical and very near term. Love it. Okay, so between the ones that we mentioned here, are there any that you think are like, people have already started labeling them according to colors. Who's doing that? You did it?
Yeah.
Want to share a few words?
I just labeled the ones that you mentioned already in the talk that are like sort of similar, and I agreed with one.
Wonderful. So we have a few ones here. If anyone else is, finds similarities across them that are like useful enough for them to be really clustered together, or if you think one of them should really be its entirely different subset. Okay, wonderful. But we already see, I think, a few like at least like threads emerging within that, and then also some possibly separate projects within that. So that's great. Second category, global governance and cooperation. And here we also have a mouthful. Key building blocks toward a global governance regime of race towards AGI and ASI, including assessment, coordination, policy advice, scientific collaboration, knowledge production, regulation, verification. Any questions? No? Good. The ability to effectively do global sortition, randomly select people from across the planet to create a microcosm of the planet and give them the context, translation, support, tools, and technical capacity to use them, such that they can participate actually in deliberation. Dark trial resistance governance mechanisms. Deliberation, evaluation observatory, an org that allocated experiments and research across deliberative processes and governance experiments to maximize learning.
So can you ask what is dark triad?
Yeah, dark triad is like Machiavellism, narcissism, what's the other? Sociopathy.
Yeah, please, if you have a question, please just ask it out, and then the person who filled it in can produce a little bit more context here. Escalating advanced market commitments for global governance, an org that pushes key institutions to pre-commit to funding and using new governance, coordination, and deliberation processes. So that's again with the deliberation one here. catalyzing the creation of a planetary scale humanity in the loop cooperative distributed model predictive control system. I think that's more under the maybe sustainability part, or the part here perhaps on future envisioning and scenario planning, or on global sustainability. So feel free to move it there if you agree. Maybe you haven't gotten to that category yet. Then we have AI governance, substantially increasing funding for alignment, lobbying senators and congressmen, systemically donating enough money to reliably bend their ears, champion nurturing and relevant agencies, and meta work to ensure AI safety orgs are able to put way more work into, way more money into work, upskill more people, do field building. So I guess here's a lobbying component in there. Mechanism for finding relevant talent to fill critical roles in AI governance. An institution that can credibly speak and make decisions as the whole of humanity on critical decisions, both around ways to avoid risks and to distribute benefits. Overcoming the nation-state system by getting elites to endorse global governance mechanisms through convincing them their quality of life is secured, and sidestepping the UN. Sidestepping the UN, okay. Radical here. Reaching agreement on essential definitions in AI governance, for instance, what goal goes into the training compute relevant for compute thresholds, leading to sustainable global peace and personal security, institutional mechanisms for mitigation and management of competitive international race dynamics, transferable application of non-proliferation regulation regimes in other international security domains, and lessons learned from shortcomings, wonderful, negotiating and getting universal ramifications, or at least the ratification by key state actors of an international agreement that ensures the safe development and deployment of transformative AI and sets out an obligation, or ideally a specific mechanism, to share the benefits of TAI with all of humanity. That's a very ambitious goal over here, has many sub-goals. Mechanisms for finding relevant talent from all over the world and ensuring that all countries have the resources needed to participate in key governance processes. Global AI safety standards that embody universal human values. A global convention on how to handle challenges that TAI throws up, triggered by pre-agreed conditions for the beginning of takeoff. So also pretty practical on mostly the kind of like, I guess, events organization front almost. Ways to globally constrain runaway AI capability without overbearing surveillance, privacy violations, and power concentration. Deliberation and arbitration on state-level liability for international scale questions of liability and restitution. Inclusive global deliberation mechanisms representative of all people to make fair and legitimate decisions about how and when to develop TAI. Having institutions that realize when there are momentous, irreversible decisions and put in place appropriate deliberation mechanisms before the decision is made. Increase trustworthiness and effectiveness of governance. Make governance sexy again. Pre-agreements to avoid burning the commons if AI enables rapid space settlement. Oh, there's a space component in there. So I guess like it's the cosmic commons. Industry self-regulating consortium of frontier labs and many other companies with delegated oversight and enforceable accountability. Awesome. Do you have any questions, comments of understanding for each of the sub-goals mentioned here? Okay, good. We're really ramping up in sub-goals here. Sustainable development and equality. Developing robust economic models that integrate AI technologies to enhance global sustainable development, reducing inequality, and promoting economic stability. AI integration, assistance in complex global sustainability problems, forecasting, policy design, and so forth, not just to mitigate, prevent current projected problem pathways, but to take advantage of upcoming volatility to produce positive transformation. Gathering integrated data about AI impact on the developing world for improved scenario modeling and distributed further benefits of AI through paying for contribution to a public repository of data. So that also has the kind of like the scenario planning one down there. Designing systems that estimate likely externalities of certain policies and activities, including the social groups most affected, and offer alternatives to those actions and resources for the most severely affected. Ensuring that the transformative aspect of AI is not benefiting only the few, but the many, perhaps even favoring those usually left behind. This is especially important in terms of job loss and disempowerment by AI, something which can be worked on through trade unions' decentralized deliberation mechanisms. Then we have one on AI. I'm just going to lead this one. That I think is the given here. Making sure that non-human animals, oh wonderful, are not further left behind by technological progress. If we can better communicate with them using AI tools, Project SETI, there's also Get Earth Species Institute, maybe we can create new institutions that take their voices into account. Love it. Physical resources, too cheap to meter, build the infrastructure to enable positive sum games and allow self-actualization for everyone by overcoming strong material constraints. Not requiring perfect abundance, but suffering engineering advances. Economics, so that maybe have a nanotechnology component in there. Economics basically failed to come up with policies for sustainable and equitable development with non-intelligent automation. This implies that a general solution that applies to both non-artificially intelligent automation and artificially intelligent automation is necessary for economic stability. And please add your initials here so people can talk to you afterwards to query on them. AI-enabled projects to catalog and store key aspects of world culture before they change dramatically or are erased. Interesting. Contract a symbiotic new world of Earth, humanity and AI, I guess. Enhancing human potential and agency. Here we have maximize human agency on individual level, egalitarian access, pro-social hedonism. Design worlds wherein most people have most of their needs met most of the time. AI that enhances what makes us uniquely human. Finding that out first, maybe. Transformative opportunities for human AI cooperation that is supported by novel social norms and institutions. AI systems that have care as a foundation feature principle and how institutions can be built around this. AI systems to help humans cooperate better and ensure that AI systems are cooperating with each other. Better coordination between collectives of humans. Automated science via transformative AI that doesn't kill us, but the alignment problem remains and then allows us to solve it by substantially accelerating things like cognitive enhancement via BCIs and gene editing and whole brain emulations. Effective mechanisms for finding talent and equipping them with the tools and connections needed to steer safe and beneficial transformative AI development. Building data input flows for individuals and collectives to report negative externalities they experience and national authorities for development of further interventions. Careful human augmentation and moral expansion. Radically but safely expanding human cognitive, culture, and biological diversity. Understanding what meaning, well-being, human flourishing actually is, that ties in with the earlier point, and here are individual and collective psychologies to get us there. Avoid individual human agency being sucked up by collective agents, super agents, like ideologies or corporations or states. As far as I can tell, meat applications for safe AI basically fake and or are useless or at best cover for something that already exists, and I'd like it if people weren't so easily tricked. Controversial. Do you want to say a few more words on this, whoever it was? Oh, I'm not surprised, Bryce. What?
I think it's relatively self-explanatory. Like I noted a couple of other examples of things that are actually just really current generation tech. There's obviously reason to concern long term about AI, but the amount of utility for current generation systems is going until virtually non-existent, and it's mostly being used as a way to create a giant marketing bubble that is, a way to perpetuate an existing financial system that is, probably a good idea, in that the economic collapse would happen if that wasn't happening politically bad. It's only possible because people are really dumb.
All right, spicy takes over here at Bryson. Overcome risk aversion and social anxieties of people to empower pro-social, pro-diverse experiences and entrepreneurial society, still aware of X risk, but insured against everything else. Describe robust frameworks to identify coercive rather than consensual practices so as to ensure policies are selected on people's true preferences. Regulatory medical frameworks for AI-enabled human enhancements, BCIs, biological enhancement that strike a balance between realizing potential and safety. Realizing Engelbart's vision of intelligence amplification and enabling us to solve more complex problems, like the ones we're already dealing with here. Creating and maintaining tools with great UX for objectively encoding subjective values held by individuals or shared by communities. Leveraging differential privacy to maximize security, privacy instead of today's decision usually requiring trade-offs to optimize security and privacy. So here we already have the institutional component in there. See Michael Nielsen's notion, yes, there's provably beneficial surveillance, there's also selective transparency, enabling a larger number of humans to be able to be active participants in technological progress and direction as opposed to a technological elite, respecting the non-aggression principle as a first principle of freedom and autonomy, empower democracy through AI, develop mechanisms that boost participations in institutions through AI, simulation-enabled cooperative human intelligence, enable humans to collectively define and update desired outcomes via cooperative coalition game theoretic dynamics, then use planetary scale distributed model predictive control to bring about the desired outcomes. A thinking fast and slow institution design model for empowering human agency for different kinds of stakeholders that engage along the life cycle on AI systems. Making truth, beauty, goodness too cheap to meter, giving all individuals and groups the ability to pursue a wide range of goals and goods within minimal constraints. Make enlightenment too cheap to meter. Love it. We're already like riffing on the too cheap to meter one. Any questions about this broad category of enhancing human potential and agency? Scientific and technological enhancement. Developing an AI tool from expensive physics-based simulations to inform earthquake hazard and risk for the San Francisco Bay Area for a safer and sustainable future. Implementing AI tools in the field of genetic genealogy. Creating AI researchers working on AI safety in a safe manner, advancing the speed of alignment work faster and capabilities. An AI-enabled immune-computer interface. I think that was already said in the intros briefly. Institutions that catalyze human-AI cooperation that leads to step changes discoveries that would otherwise be impossible to achieve. Given recent developments in the transitions of GPU and imaging of the Herculaneum papyri as of yesterday, it seems like contemporary ML can be used for linguistics to revive dead languages and preserve existing ones that are at the risk of going extinct. This may be of potential political utility and so forth, and that fits in with the language part that was in an earlier cluster before. So if you want to merge them, feel free to. Gathering data about endangered species that can be used to faithfully resurrect them in the future. Enable more innovator, community-led rather than capital or tech-led early open explorations. Any questions, comments, anything we're missing in the science category? I had thought this would be larger.
So immune-computer interface means like the immune system. What is that one like for health?
Who put it on there?
I did. So the idea would be to in the same way that we're talking about brain-computer interfaces, that the analogy for the computer for the immune system. So being able to digitally update your immune system to kind of augment it to respond to external threats better. Also to program it to accept things that it would otherwise recognize as foreign, as like synthetic proteins that you probably need to actually build the brain-computer interface.
Great, so
if you have an allergy, you just reprogram it to not be allergic to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it has a biosecurity aspect in it as well. Great. Well, philosophical and moral inquiry. Eventually, I would have AI systems to figure out whether there's an objectively morally good in the multiverse, and if not, what's morally good and that should be still pursued. Making wisdom too cheap to meter. Humanity not going insane, losing touch with reality due to rapid mimetic evolution. How to train AGI to have cross-species empathy to help ensure it cares about humans and to prevent it from being a psychopath. So here we have also again this bit about human and AI communication and basically like also including animal welfare intelligences into the mix. So maybe there can be some clustering done across the different categories because I guess there's some philosophical component to it, but it also is really about like the agency piece that we had here. So I guess the agency piece could also not just be maximizing agency of humans, but also potentially of other sentient beings that we want to include in that. How to train AGI to have cross-species empathy. I guess we just had that. Plans for the possibility of digital people, or at least AI systems which are candidates for ethical consideration. Important one. How to avoid value lock-in. Plans agreement for serious deliberation before lock-in events. Great. Anything else on the philosophy category? Good. Future vision and, we're getting to the end here, future vision and scenario planning. These are all shorter. Scenario planning for a new symbiotic world between humans and AI. Providing conflict resolution and benefit sharing commitments now to avoid global conflict as the geopolitical importance of transformative AI becomes clearer. Make sure an AI-enabled transformation tech, such as BCIs, advance rather than harm human consciousness and collective flourishing. Actor-led as opposed to technology and capital-led early open explorations of a speculative fiction approach to participation in development and governance of AI. So I think something's missing here if you want to continue filling it in. A speculative fiction approach to participation in development and governance of AI that centers collaboration with constructive friction as its heart. Awesome. Design human flourishing index to replace engagement as key success metrics for products and services. Very practical. Great. So this one, I guess, could also be under the agency one, under the human agency one, in case you agree with that. Cool. Feel free to move them about. Epistemics, last but not least, guys. Well, second to last. Epistemics. Preserve the ability of humans to have somewhat shared word models to make sense of the world. TAI that facilitates a multiplicity of different life worlds, worldviews, meta-narratives, empowers humans to meaningfully self-determine their life world and maintains power and balance between them. Advanced automation forecasting for expected value estimation. I know who that's coming from. And automated AI agents that annotate the web, comment in threads to make sure people don't misunderstand communication. So I guess here we already have like the institutional component or the tool within the goal. Ensure that there's a consensus and objective barometer of all aspects of AI risk through having a global forecasting institution. Doomsday clock, but also with all component probabilities and impact details underneath. AI epistemic assistance, like a community notespot, which screens for sources and important context, brainwashing immune system. AI tools for automating trustworthy analysis on consequential topics, like an automated Wikipedia or Give Well for Everything. Better approaches than Google Docs for doing this kind of rapid, high bandwidth collaboration without risk of unintentional visible deletions and automatic duplication. That comes up at every workshop. Expert on demand infrastructure to support deliberative governance processes. Word model forecasting infrastructure to support deliberative governance processes. More speculative LLM ambassador for individuals, group views, so that ambassadors can simulate conversation. I guess that fits into some of the AI fiduciary component to some extent. Okay, wonderful. Those are great. There's definitely some overlap also between the epistemics category and between the agent category here. Now, last but not least, deep TAI adaptation, ensuring all nations can adapt for the long run to a TAI world by starting a global coordination institution tasked with helping nation states with all things needed to adapt Marshall Fund for the world. This can include monetary support a la World Bank to nations to evolve their economies and industries to a transformative AI world, as well as philosophical and practical inquiry into what practically it will mean to be human in a TAI world. So this is not under the governance category. Someone, who are you? Who wrote this down?
That's me. It could probably be under the governance category.
Okay. I definitely don't mean to force you, but I think I could see it being there. Great. And then there is a hackathon project linked here.
So, if I may, we have at AI Objectives, we've developed a tool called Talk to the City that is for gathering large amounts of unstructured data, coming up with clusters and themes in it. So I just ran through this and that, so we have a bunch of clusters. So if you click it, you'll be able to see it.
Great. We're doing rapid prototyping here.
Yeah.
If the Wi-Fi lets me.
Yeah, just scroll it. There you go. Yes, so we found 5 major topics, and there's a bunch of subclusters under them, so it placed the relevant comments in the groups. With like 10 more minutes, I could have, I guess, put the names of every single person next to the representative arguments, but that needed some string parsing, so I didn't want to deal with it.
I'm working on that.
Okay. I love it. Wonderful. Then maybe I'll just take those, transfer them into the Google Doc, and we can, sorry, just in terms of process, like most of the sub-goals are still contained within them, but they're now clustered according to different subclusters within the goals? Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
I think the two kind of enforces.
Sorry, speak up, please.
Can we note that like the two like courses as in the ontology, which is like less interesting than the original claims?
Than the original structure?
These are not the precise original claim wording, but I think the categories may be helpful for organizing. We can also get the exact original text next to these. That would be too.
But can we not do this categorization and looking at the top clusters, and we are pushed into a very classical ontology embedded in the corpus of texts.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is actually using the same ontology as the parent. Like I brought the ontology from the other one, but yeah, I just want to share this in case if it offers any.
Yeah, so I think what I would propose maybe for this is that after we maybe have voted, which is what we get to in a second, on like the broad classes that people want to work on, then if you want to refine them and want to use talk to the city, like smaller clusters to like help narrow your scope down, you're really welcome to, basically. And I think in order for you guys to find it again, it is linked to from the bottom of the shared doc already. Okay, so what we'll be doing in a second is we'll be kind of like, you'll be expressing interest in the clusters by just putting X's into the clusters here. So we'll be doing a brief kind of like, just kind of like shortlisting of different things we want to be working on. And that's still in the broader clusters before we narrow it down a little bit more. And so in a second, you'll be asked to write an X. So you have 3 X's. The X's are your votes. And so you can give 3 votes to the top TAI goals that you think are that you want to focus on working on. And so those are the goal clusters here. So you can maybe, let's say, give one here, then you go down and give one to the next one over here. And you can do that 3 times. And we won't check on you, so please really only vote 3 times. And that will help us already like kind of like gradually like grok interest of different people here in different clusters. And then afterwards, we'll have a little bit more of a refined process for like mapping existing institutions to the different subcategories before we actually like start a little bit with the project deliberation. But for now, I want to ask, are there any questions, comments about the subcluster, the clusters as they currently are? Are we missing anything? Is there anything that is excruciatingly missing from this document so far? Okay, well, then you have, let's say, 3 minutes or so to give your 3 votes. Then you have a break, we'll count them, and then we'll meet again here for the second set of like actually like kind of differentiating them out and mapping existing institutions to them to see where they're currently failing us.